Now, we mentioned this in the news today, this Wednesday, marking World Press Freedom Day. It's a chance to shed light on the struggles of journalists reporting from zones of conflict. And Dipty's been having a look through the latest for us on it.
Well, safety, misinformation and online violence are the most critical threats facing African journalists today. Stuart, this is a focus on the dangers that they face while reporting. That's according to the Pan-African North Africa Post website. Journalists frequently face arbitrary arrests, and as we saw during Nigeria's elections earlier this year, they were also subjected to harassment. Elsewhere, the paper condemns the fact that countries like Mali have become virtual no-go zones for reporters. And on the topic of Mali, France 24 is among the signatories of an open letter today on World Press Freedom Day, deploring the arbitrary deportations and signal cutting of media outlets in Mali. It also condemns the growing replacement of what it says of journalists by what it says are influencers who are loyal to the military regimes in Mali, but also Burkina Faso. It says that the rise of fake news deprives local populations there of democratic debate, once again reminding us on this very special day for World Press Freedom Day that journalists play a critical role in informing citizens around the world. Stuart.
Yeah, a lot more on all of that in Global Grid in just over 20 minutes. Now, we're going to go to Kenya next. A pastor accused of influencing dozens of people to starve to death has been charged with terrorism.
Well, this story has been making headlines for some weeks now after Kenyans were left stunned by the discovery of several dozen mass graves in a forest on the coastal town of Malindi last month. Paul Mackenzie, a pastor, is accused of leading what is suspected to be a doomsday cult. He's on the front page of this paper here, People Daily, a Kenyan daily. He's accused of terrorism now, or faces charges of terrorism after allegedly leading dozens and possibly up to 100 or more people to starve themselves to death, including many, many children, which is why this story has particularly outraged Kenya. There's a very interesting article from the Africa Report, which looks at the ubiquity of churches in Kenya. Kenya is, of course, a very deeply religious country. There are 3,000 churches in Kenya, but only 32 of them are actually registered legally, or recognized legally by the National Council of Churches in Kenya. Some church leaders in Kenya are now calling on authorities to monitor and control what is being taught in these churches across the country, and some even advocating a wealth audit of leaders, often whom are often very rich and prey on the poor. They're doing.
Now, it's Lionel Messi, 10 minutes here on France 24. Charles mentioned him in the business, and Dipty's going to talk about him now. Paris Saint-Germain's Messi is in a world of trouble with his club. This is after skipping training.
Yeah, and it's making the front page of the French sports paper L'Équipe, which headlines La rupture or the breakup today. Lionel Messi has been suspended for 2 weeks by Paris Saint-Germain after he skipped training to go to Saudi Arabia to fulfill some promotional duties he had for a local tourism board. But for L'Équipe, the decision to suspend him without pay is an historic decision for the club, and no doubt signals, at least for the paper, the end of his partnership with Paris Saint-Germain. From PSG's lows to the Welsh club Wrexham's highs, though, Stuart. This is from a local paper in the Welsh town of Wrexham, a place we pretty much never talk about in the press review. It is actually one of the oldest football clubs in the world. It's been the focus of a documentary, particularly after it was acquired by Hollywood actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. They've been constantly present at all the games, and now the team has actually finished top of its division, meaning that it can be promoted to the Football League for the first time in 15 years. There was a bus parade with all the players yesterday in the town of Wrexham, also celebrating the women's team who were also promoted to the top league. Some surreal scenes here in the city of Wrexham, as an estimated 20,000 people turned up to cheer on the players and the Hollywood actors who were there as well. That's about a third of the city's population, Stuart.
Yeah, amazingly done. Well done to Wrexham. Staying with the UK press, the first fashion shoot has been held. This is on King Charles's private residence.
Well, yeah, usually it's Charles himself who's photographed reading a newspaper or strolling around Highgrove House, his private Gloucestershire estate. Well, now the King has opened up the property to Harper's Bazaar magazine, which wanted to do a shoot inspired by the coronation. King Charles agreed for the first time to hold this photo shoot on his property with some stunning pictures, as you see there, with the model Aishwarya Gupta. A shoot featuring exclusively British designer Stuart and honouring King Charles, but also his famous green thumb.
And finally, prepare for a shock. This is a teacher in West Virginia got the fright of his life while taking the trash or the rubbish out.
Well, you'd never be able to take your trash out in the same way, Stuart. This teacher in West Virginia, James Marsh, he came face to face with a black bear while taking the trash out. It was caught on CCTV and the images have gone viral. It's believed that the bear was foraging for food in the trash chute when it got stuck in there. Take a look at this video. He's very unassumingly opening the trash bin, as you do, and look at that. He got away just in time. I think possibly the black bear was just as frightened, but I guess you're never going to find out. You're never going to stick around to find out. Marsh is seen on his hands and knees there afterwards, kind of catching his breath. I think we would all be doing the same thing. The local education board had a bit of a laugh. They said that the principal deserved hazard pay as a result of this video.
I don't know why. It makes me keep checking under the desk just to make sure in case somebody's going to pop out. You never know. Titi, thanks a lot. Titi Killerol with the papers for us here on France 24.